Okay, sure. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. Um, as you know, AAPI, American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, is working sincerely with the pre-med and also the international medical graduates. Uh, Today's topic is welcome to the webinar Match 2022. Looking at our experience talking to almost more than 30 uh, international medical graduates and also the pre-med, we came up with a lot of questions, and at the same time we had decided to come up with the plan how we can put all together. Thanks to Kinjal, we actually worked together, and then we spoke to the API Executive Committee, Dr. Sudhakar Jonalgada, Dr. Goti Mukla, and then Dr. Kohli, and they agreed that we should have something, and not just the one time, but we should have ongoing webinars. And we were lucky and fortunate to get today's speakers. All four speakers are excellent and they have proven track record. And definitely, without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Sudhakar Jonalgada. He had a vision for observership from the API, and I would like to invite Dr. Sudhakar Jonalgada. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandya, for your kind introduction. This is Sudhakar Jonalgada, President of National API. Welcome you all. And I'm so thankful to Himanshu bringing this webinar today. This is very, very important for all the international or national graduates before they apply for the residencies. I'm just telling the speakers, that I wish it had been there for the last 30 years. 30 years ago, when looking for residency, no clue, how to apply and what are the things very important to project yourself to the interviewer or, to the program, to get selected. And I'm thankful to have a good leadership this year. And 2 years ago, first, I met two top-notch physicians from New York, Dr. Parag Mehta and Dr. Anurag Talwar. What I want to do, I want to start a clinical observership program through API. And they are gladly accepted. And I have, again, another sharp leader, Dr. Himanshu Pandya, is a co-chair for this program. And we are going very well. And I want everybody to utilize this opportunity to use API clinical observership program, get some experience before apply for residencies. Definitely that helps a lot to, in the future endeavor. And again, I want to welcome all again for this great program, and I'm looking forward to more and more in future. And also Dr. Kinjal. Kinjal is one of the our MSRF president, and she's very active this year. It's very awesome leader here for young physicians. Thank you, Kinjal, for doing again. Welcome all the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jonalgada. Hi, everyone. My name is Kinjal Solanki. I am the API MSRF president, which is the Medical Student Resident Fellow section of API. And we are here to support all medical students, especially in this webinar, through this webinar, and more in future for the match process and those who need help with reapplying in the next cycle. So without any further ado, we will get started. I will introduce our speakers today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Parag Mehta. He's a Senior Vice Chairman in the Department of Medicine in New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Our second speaker will be Dr. Zishan Mansouri. He's a Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Fellow at Boston Children's Hospital, Harvard Medical Center. Our third speaker will be Dr. Amusu Sheila. She's an internal medicine resident at Loyola McNeil Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. And our fourth speaker will be Dr. Urvish Patel. He's a co-founder and chief education officer at the Research Update Incorporation. And we have excellent speakers today who have experiences from the past and in their fields, helping other people to get through the match process. So I will let Dr. Mehta take over from here.
Thank you, Kinjal. And thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Sudhakar. I had a chance to speak to all the other speakers, and I think you will learn a lot out of everything. Do you want to put the slide show?
Yes.
Kinjal?
Yeah, just opening it.
Fantastic. You want to, some of the slides are for the information which I believe that all of you have it. So I'll go through them fast so that we have more time for the question and answer. So next slide, please. So obviously this is a simple slide. All of you should be knowing that you need to give your USMLE, you need to have the US clinical experience if you can. Try to do the research and publication and extracurricular activity. There's a lot about extracurricular activity. When you mention about it, how do you project yourself as a team player, leadership? That is important, not the extracurricular activity itself. Preparing yourself, let's move on to the next one. So you should be always ready. You never know when will you get the chance. If you meet someone in elevator, you should be able to summarize your accomplishment in 30 seconds. That's what you should plan. And that will be also helpful in your interviews. So always be prepared. Apply on timely manner. Sooner your application goes, at least you will have chance to resend them another update or something like that, right? Make sure that all the documents are ready, particularly MSP and the Dean's letter are important. So make sure that you get the best letter possible. Letter of recommendations are extremely important. And we were having some chat. I did mention if we have time, at some given time, we'll have a separate conference for that letter of recommendation, how to write, what should be there, and who should be writing it. Search for the program and prepare your CV. Find out all your accomplishment as well as the red flags. Next slide, please. So the purpose in this presentation, to be short, will try to tell you what the program is looking in the application. And then what is the program is looking in the candidate, that is you, when you present for the interview. And how can you be that candidate? That is what our goal is. We'll give you some facts and some data. Next slide, please. So this is a typical number of PGY1 positions applicants and how many positions are. So there is a typical gap of 10, 15,000 all the way from 1952 to 2020. That means not everyone gets into the residency. Next slide, please. Again, these are the data which is available, that how many people actually apply and how many of them are getting into the residency. Next slide, please. If you look into the 2020 to 2016, the US citizen student who are the IMGs, there were 5,000 and maybe 3,000 are getting into the residency. That means 2,000 are left. These are the US citizens, but they are IMG because they go to the Caribbean school. And the non-US citizens, which is the IMG, were 6,000 applicants and match were 4,200. So 2,600 did not match. This is for 2020 and this is for 2016. Next slide, please. In 2020, there were 38,000 positions and there were 40,000 applicants. USMD matched in the first time 93%, USDO 90%, USIMG 61%, and non-USIMG were 45%. That is where you stand, and that is the reason your application should be as good as possible so you can get the first attempt. Next one. What program looks before interview? Now, this slide does include USMLE score because you might be having it. Eventually, the USMLE score will not be counted. But as of today, USMLE step 1 score was one of the criteria, but forget about it. Letter of recommendation remains the high. So someone was asking, letter of recommendation should be detailed. It should be the person who is in your specialty and knows you well. Medical student performance evaluation, MSPE, that's 84%, right? USMLE step 2, grades in required clerkship. Personal statement. People do read your personal statement, so try to make it right. Class ranking and quartile. Any failed attempt, immediately the application goes out, many of the programs. Evidence of professionalism and ethics, perceived commitment to specialty, personal prior knowledge of the applicant. So if you have worked in that program, will be very useful. Leadership qualities, and these are the places where your extracurricular activities will come in play. additional elective rotation within your department, consistency of grades, and pass your assembly step to a complex level 2 PE. Next slide, please. When you are writing personal statement, many people write, what have you done that when I was in India or when I did this thing? Try to come out of it and try to offer them what will you bring onto the table when you come to the program. There's many more things that needs to be discussed, but your personal statement should inform, influence, and inspire in nutshell. And when you're writing, you have to say that who you are, what you have to offer, and what makes you different. If that kind of personal statement you can create, it will work. Next slide, please. Your personal statement can describe one of these things, that you are a communicator, you have humility, you are a leader, empathy, inspire, passion. Not every single thing, but somewhere you need to try to say who you are. Next slide, please. This is a small example of the opening sentence, that in a time where a spark of fear can lead to terror, a tear can create tsunami of sorrow, yet a single smile can overcome it all. The most valuable asset I can bring to Harvard is a fluid mindset, overflowing with curiosity, passion, and optimism. Through the diversity of my experiences, surroundings, and literature, I'm lucky enough to possess a mindset that allows me to take risks, empathize, and be open to change. Try to understand you have done everything what is written in this sentence, but your wordings will matter. Next slide, please. I learned to inspire a similarly diverse student body to become fearless change agent and create a network of leaders who impact the world through their passions. Next slide, please. So personal statement was one important part. Letter of recommendation. When somebody is writing a letter of recommendation, preferably that should be known person at good level, same specialty. And when he's writing, he should be writing about you, that how is your communication, interpersonal skill, positive points of the medical school, work ethics, clinical skill and performance, fund of medical knowledge, relationship with colleagues and staff, how patients perceive you, dependability, level of responsibility, efficiency and time management, easy to work with, volunteer experience, community involvement, medical research experience. When everything is written there and there are certain words like excellent, outstanding will make a difference. This slide, the two slide which I'm going to pass by, that if you are applying, try to understand that US graduates are doing way more research and more presentation than you. You'll be listening from Urvish about it, so I'm going to pass it on. He has the numbers also. Next slide, please. But the research is extremely important. Presentation is important. Next slide, please. So what happened that once you apply, after application, you can try calling them, but don't try to harass them. You can update your application that yes, my paper has been published or something like that. And then be nice, be humble, right? Next slide, please. Now comes the pre-interview preparation. Get an over idea that who you are, how are you going to present yourself. Practice the most common question and prepare your portfolio. So when somebody asks you, you should be able to hand it over that, hey, this is my paper or XYZ, right? Know more about the program before going to the interview. So go to the PubMed, look at the program director, chairman, and the leaders and see that what have they done? What is their area of interest? When you will engage that kind of discussion, it will make a difference. Next slide, please. Pre-interview dinner, many times it happens, and which is extremely important that you should try to mingle around and ask relevant questions. Try to learn about it as well as try to give an impression that you are really interested and you are humble. Don't show off. Next slide, please. When you go for the interview, you should look authentic. You should be present in the interview. You should have passion. Passion is the one thing they are looking for. Enthusiastic, confident, comfortable, and captivating. There are many more. There's an entire presentation by Amy Cuddy that before going in, how can you do the power pose so you are more confident? Next slide, please. During the interview, be polite, humble, friendly, and honest. Smile. Show enthusiasm. and project yourself as clearly as possible. Most program looks for the hardworking and the team player, and be prepared to ask at least one or two questions. Next slide, please. You have this list, so I'll not read, but you should be prepared for common question. Tell me about yourself, why this program, and your strength, ethical dilemma question. Next slide, please. Sometime they try to ask you a question, scenario, and then they try to figure it out that how will you handle that particular scenario. And this is another style of the interviewing question, that behavioral interviewing. They may ask you that tell us about the major challenges. Tell that somebody confide on you, and then you still have to break the confidence, right? Difficult communication with the team player or maybe with the family member. How will you create a team? How will you lead a team, right? And what are the challenges of medicine today? So these are the things which can go on. One more slide, please. And what program looks at the time of ranking. So now you have given the interviews, your application happened, you have done everything in your application and you gave the good interview. When somebody is making a ranking, they'll be looking for the interaction with the faculty during the interview and the visit. So it's not only faculty, also the resident who has given you rounds, even where you park your car, the parking attendant. Don't misbehave, because somebody will notify that somebody was, not nice. Interpersonal skills, that's what I'm saying, that all around. Interaction with the house staff, feedback from the current resident. If somebody knows you, that will be helpful. Afterwards, USMLE score, letter of recommendation, and what we have looked into it. So for the time's sake, I'll pass it on to the next speaker. Next slide, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Dr. Mansouri, would you like to?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Mehta. I'm just about to share my screen. Okay, so I think Dr. Mehta gave a very nice presentation about what we look for when we are selecting candidates. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you real life examples. And before I start that, let me introduce myself. I'm Zishan. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatry fellow at Boston Children's Hospital, Harvard Medical School. Disclosures, unfortunately, none yet. But if you think that should change at the end of this presentation, please feel free to contact me. So the first story is of an internal medicine candidate. There were actually two similar stories, one from India, one from Pakistan. Non-US IMG, step 1 265, step 2 268, CS cleared, step 3 of 245, year of graduation 2020, 3 electives, no other USC, no research. One guy had 7 interviews, one guy had 12 interviews, no other degrees, applied on time. And guess what? This person and the other person as well did not match. And both the causes were pretty similar. Number one, they did not actively approach the programs. With their scores, they should have gotten at least 30, 40 interviews in this season, but they were not active during that season. Second thing, both of them were stressed about step 3, studying for step 3 during the season, and did not prepare very well for the interviews. So just because you have a 260 score or a 265 score does not automatically mean you will get matched. If you screw up the interviews, you are not going to get matched. There were 4 other candidates like this who were very, very impolite during their interviews. So they had 30, 35 interviews and they matched to their 14th and 16th position. So remember, at 265, interview prep is not just to get you matched. Interview prep is to help you match at your top or top 3 choices. So that is what these candidates need to do this year. Second story is about a US IMG, step 1 of 228, step 2 CK of 235, CS cleared, step 3 was not given. Year of graduation was 2009. She had 14 months of USC, 7 months in academic centers, no research, 1 interview, and no other degrees, no MPH, no MBA, applied 2 times, didn't match. At that time, she approached me. So there were 2 problems with her CV. 3 actually. One is step 3 was not given. As an old graduate, step 3 is very, very important. You need to get that in. So that was there. Second thing, she was doing all her rotations in western part of United States, specifically Seattle, where there are not many IMG friendly programs. So because of that, the programs in the Northeast were not considering her seriously. So what we did, we got her some research, we got her some publications, got the step 3 done. We made her do rotations in New York as well as in the South. Next year, she had 6 interviews, matched to her top choice in internal medicine. Third story. So this is a 2009 graduate, a US IMG, a step 1 of 205, step 2 CK of 215, CS cleared, step 3 203, no attempts, No electives, 5 years of United States clinical experience, 40 publications, 1,500 citations of his research. He had 2 interviews. He had a master's in public health. He had applied 5 times and did not match. I talked to him last year after he had not matched the 5th time. The problem with this CV was that his research job was in cardio, and he was very dedicated to psych. So he was doing psych rotations on the weekend in private clinic, but all his research was cardio, not a single publication in psych. We worked very actively on his psych profile this year. We got lots of publications. We got 2 national awards at national conferences. And in addition to that, we very specifically wrote why he's really interested in psych, although he has lots of cardio publications. That worked. He did get like 2 interviews again this year, but this year he matched to his top choice and he's going to be starting his residency this year. 4th example, non-US IMG, step 1 of 240, step 2 CK of 242, CS cleared, step 3 was not given, year of graduation 2018, electives none, 6 months of United States clinical experience, no research, 8 interviews, no other degrees, applied on time, 1 time. We have at least 10 examples like this. There are fresh graduates who have really good scores, do not give step 3. They get interviews, but they do not match. In psychiatry, with the level of competition we have right now, we need step 3. That is very, very important, especially in most IMG friendly programs. There'll be a rare 1 or 2 people who have like an extraordinary profile and they might match. But overall, without step 3, even as a fresh graduate, matching is very difficult. In this case, this specific case, the solution was simple. Give the step 3. We worked on research. Next year, this person had 12 interviews, matched to our second choice in a university program in the Midwest. 5th story, US IMG, step 1 of 225, step 2 CK of 235, CS cleared 2 attempts, step 3 of 215, year of graduation was 2014, no electives, 2 years of USC in academic centers, 9 research publications, 6 interviews, no other degrees, applied on time 4 times, didn't match. The problem with this specific student was that whenever she was asked about her CS attempt, she used to freak out in the interview, and then the whole interview went south. And when that happens, you get screwed in the interview. So the very important thing that we had to do for her, she had done everything else that could be possibly done, which could be improved a little bit. But main thing was, let's prepare the difficult questions. How do we handle these difficult questions? So once we did that, next year, she nailed it and she got a pre-match right in October, which she took. And she's right now a PGY2. So last and the most important thing is networking and increasing visibility. So how do you do that? So one important thing is attend all the national and local conferences. Talk to as many people as you can. Plan ahead. Who is attending the conference? Are there chief residents there? Are there chief fellows there? Who's the program director? Which sessions are they hosting? Are there any interactive sessions where you can go and pitch your candidature? So that is very important. Have an open and meaningful conversation. Talk about your real life passions. Talk about your life in general. It is not just about your medical or psychiatric or patho knowledge. It's about seeing you as a person. And learn the art of listening. When that person is saying something to you, you have to listen and understand. So I'll give you my own example. Last year, I was a 4th-year resident and I was applying for my child psychiatry fellowship. I had interviews from lots of top programs. I had Harvard, I had UPenn, I had Duke. Stanford had not yet given me an interview. They had not responded to my emails. And by chance, I met the Stanford program director at the AAPI meeting. And I just pitched my candidature in 30 seconds. And he told me to meet me on the last day of conference for breakfast. We met for breakfast. We spoke for like 1.5 hours. He really liked me. Monday morning, I have an interview invitation in my inbox. So this story can be replicated many, many different times. But for that, you have to be in the right place at the right time. So attending these conferences will give you that increasing visibility, and that will help you build the contacts that we talk about. So last and the most important thing for all our IMGs who are here, you can do anything and be anyone you want to be as long as you set your heart and mind to it. Reach out to people, ask for help. Once you are in a position to do so, return the favor and help others. Be grateful, gracious, and kind, not because you need something in return, but because you really mean it. Get out of your comfort zone. It might surprise you what you are capable of achieving. Sometimes you will fail and you will fall down. I have fallen down many, many times in my path. Who doesn't? Stand up with your head held high and try again. These bumps on the road are there for our own good. They build strength and character. Never ever give up. If I can do it, so can you. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and as well as on my website, humansofusmle.org. Thank you very much. And I will now pass the baton to Amu.
Thank you, Dr. Mansuri. Amu, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you, Zishan. So hi, everyone. My name is Ammu Sushila. I'm an internal medicine resident at Loyola in Chicago. Kinjal, could you please share the slides, please?
Yes, just.
So I just want to talk about, so before me, the eminent speakers have spoken very well regarding the process and inspiring stories of, how people have matched with what could be there wrong in their application and going through it and figuring it out and correcting it for the next cycle. So for me, if this talk is about post match, if you're not matched, what should we do? I have been in your shoes before. So this is my journey, what I have seen among my peers and what I have gathered among the information that I'd like to share with all of you. So if you have not matched and if it's your first cycle, definitely give your step 3 and do as many rotations as you can, because those two are considered the most important part of your application if you haven't finished it. But if you're in a position where you have already completed step 3, you already have enough rotations and still you don't know what to do, I would like to quickly touch upon some of the backup options you can have, which not only builds up your CV, but it also opens a career pathway for you in case if it's something that you want to set out to be. So this is something which will not only sustain you, but also builds you up. So some of the things you have heard about would be the assistant physician program in Missouri. And there are certain other states which have also already opened up. This is because there is a physician shortage and people who don't match, their talent is actually not getting utilized. So that's the reason they've started up these programs. But it does require you having a US citizenship and like less than 3 years of year of graduation cutoff. But if that's something that you qualify for, when you're applying for the next year's cycle and you're waiting, you can always have that as a backup, because you'll get a restricted license, you'll be seeing patients, you'll have hands-on clinical experience. So that would be a good addition. The next one, many people shrunk upon it. Doing a home country residency is not a bad idea because it does open up a lot of opportunities, along with you being within your comfort resources. If you ask me, doing rotations within home country residency, definitely doing rotations matters. But if you have a home country residency opportunity, doing that will open up even fellowship opportunities in US. A lot of fellowships in US can take students who already completed home country residency. There is a pathway called as Fifth Pathway Program, which is approved by the ACGME. So because there is a lot of fellowship programs that go unmatched, if you have enough experience and qualifications even from your country, they would take you directly into the fellowship where you'll get an active license. And then if you want to practice back in your country or any other country, you can go back. But if you want to practice in US, you'll have to do a residency after that. But the chance of you matching after a fellowship is way higher. I haven't seen anybody who hasn't matched after a fellowship if they set out for that. I've also seen students teaching in Caribbean islands. If you've already completed your MBBS or your equivalent medical degree and you're waiting for the next match cycle, you can having a career, having a university professor job in a Caribbean island where you're actually teaching people who are preparing for USMLE. Not only is it gratifying, it is also sustainable and adds to your CV as well. Another one I have seen is clinical informatics. So that is something not many people know. I know that my next speaker will be talking very elaborately about research, but clinical informatics is for people who have a good interest in statistics and research. So this itself opens up a lot of career opportunities in the medical field. I have known medical students and residents who after finishing their fellowship program has gone for informatics. So it is a highly valuable data mining kind of career. Which will, if you're doing it, it won't like set you back, or it won't be like you cannot go back to residency. It just adds you up, as it only builds you up and opens up other doors for you. And then of course you have heard about people doing MPH, MBA, PhD programs, and all these are pathways. Also, you can, if you use it correctly, like if you do the right kind of networking, like Zishan was mentioning, along with utilizing your time wisely, these masters and PhDs can be used very constructively for you. And if not, you have an added backup career option in US. Each of this is actually a talk by himself. So I'm just like mildly touching upon these opportunities. If anybody has question, I can elaborate further on that. Angel, can we go to the next slide, please? So for the most important thing I've found helpful, and as Ishan was mentioning, was fostering connections, making contacts. And how do we do it? Definitely getting active in the community, whether it's conferences, whether it's doing volunteer work. Not only is something you add for your CV, but it definitely helps to meet people. And having your elevator pitch in hand, having the 30-second profile of yourself, talking about it while you're interacting, definitely adds up to build connections who would like to help you out. Again, taking leadership roles. So AMA, American Medical Association, has a medical student section, which is currently and mostly done by US medical students, but they have an IMG section. And their main purpose is to help these students to get their CV strengthened to go for application. They have a mentorship program that AMA offers. The IMG also has a specific section of AMA, which will help to network as well as help with each process of application. So, and even AAPI has these resources. So the organizations, getting involved in these organizations, if you don't like leadership roles, even being actively participant in that definitely helps open doors up for you. And attending conferences and presenting at them, having your posters, giving your oral presentation, all that definitely make your voice heard, make your work known, as well as meet people. Then again, AMA has what you call as advocacy and policy. These methods are actually, I've seen only US people taking more interest in it, but the few IMGs who have actively taken a lot of passion into advocacy and policy have gone really far in their career. The policies you can even publish if you actually come up with policies that's present in the AMA. Again, presentations and doing volunteer work definitely helps. So my whole point to bring all these to notice is that we all know that there is a pathway wherein you're getting your scores, you do your rotations, and you apply for the match. And if the match doesn't happen, what are the options you have? So those are the things that I have found upon, and I have also found a lot of my peers doing it. I'd like to conclude by saying one of the stories. This is especially for people who have low scores. So scores, once you have it, there's nothing you can do to change their scores. Scores are always the king. So try to get the best scores, and if step 3 is the only option, give your best on that. But if the scores are already done, then there is other ways to build up your CV. That's what I wanted to emphasize on. So the story is about this lady who did an MBA along with applying for residency. And after she got the MBA, she was not able to match for 4 cycles. And after she did her MBA, she helps to build up a residency program because her MBA job allowed her to get into a job in that profile. And next year she matched into that program. So there are many pathways to get to where you want to if it doesn't happen the first time. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your time. And I'll pass it on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Mamu, for that excellent talk. Next, we have Dr. Urvish Patel. Are you ready?
Yes. Can you please share the slides?
Yes. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Urvish Patel, and I'm Chief Education Officer of Research Update Organization. And my disclosure is the Research Update is non-profit organization, educational organization founded to promote clinical research and its application to enrich the community health. And our major principle is solely focusing on education, training, consultation, and applying to the evidence-based practices. Now, these are some of my favorite pictures you will be seeing throughout the presentation, as everyone, eminent speaker, Dr. Mehta, Dr. Mansoori, and Dr. Amu talk about. Most important thing is to make connection and network. So that is something we are going to talk for next 5 minutes, and how research will be helpful in order to not only make your CV strong, but also make the connection strong, the long-term connection which we are talking about. What I believe is exhausting all the option is the only option. So when we talk about exhausting all the option, which will not end at the step scores. After step score is a whole new journey, which will define you, whatever you are. So this is something we are going to talk about quickly in the next few minutes. Next slides. So what are the most important things which we can work on, or I can say that how important research is out of all those things for international medical graduates and medical students. We always talk about modifiable risk factor and non-modifiable risk factor. So exactly same way, this is the mission, and we are talking about here also the what are the modifiable factors which we can work on, and what are the non-modifiable factors which once done, we cannot change. So USMLE scores and attempt, once you are having it, we cannot change it, as Dr. Amu mentioned that. Especially visa status is also something is most important, but many of us cannot change those things. So now what are the things which can be modifiable? So as Dr. Mehta mentioned that US clinical experience is the most important modifiable factor that you can work on. But now, according to me, there is a little bit limitation in terms of you cannot do more than 4 to 6 months because of the some of the factors like affordability, living expense, feasibility of the visa, traveling, all those things come into the picture when you are talking about being IMG and want to travel to United States. But it is important, but the limitation is on certain range. Exactly same way, letter of recommendation, your responsibility is to work hard and make yourself very comfortable and very well equipped with the system, and then it's depend on the instructor or your mentor how he's going to write your waived letter of recommendation. The third one, as Dr. Amu mentioned, that there are some of the long-term and short-term time commitment option like Masters of Public Health, Masters of Science Clinical Research, some of the long-term research fellowship on J visa, or some of the clinical fellowship following the home country residency, which all of us did someone out of it. What we learn is it's a time commitment. You have to dedicate 1 year, 2 year, 3 year of time in order to make sure that you build your CV, you shine yourself, and then you present a final version to the program, so that that is something you can bring it to the program. Very good word that Dr. Mehta mentioned, that what will you bring to the program? Everyone wants to know that. It's a kind of dating. I say that program is choosing you, you're choosing the program. So it's a mutual understanding as well as mutual beneficial component is involved, right? So what will you bring to the program? That is also important. Some people bring MPH skills, some people bring statistical skill, big data science skill, or maybe MBA skill. So that those are the time commitment options you are having it. Now, after that, something is my favorite is coming. Those are the two most important thing. If you are having research education in your country, let's say if I talk about in India or in United States, any type of research education is universal everywhere. So if you are having education and if you are having experience of working on some of the small projects like short-term studentship project of ICMR or your institutional project where you are working, or we are not talking about majority case presentation, we are talking about a small sample size of observational retrospective studies or any kind of publication which is publishable. Okay, when we don't publish, it perish. That means that is very less important if you cannot able to publish. But now why I'm emphasizing on publication, most importantly, not only it will make your CV strong, but definitely when you are sharing something, your skill with the program, it will a good healthy communication between you and the interviewer, number one. Number two, when you are going to the conference, it will be a good scope to give you networking opportunity. You are going to share your interest, you are going to share what you are interested in, and then that will create a unique impact, or I can say one way of creating contact with the shorter time commitment. Other thing is same thing. You are making contact by doing observership or MPH or MSCR, but by knowing the research, you are going to make the connection, or I can say the contact or networking by very shorter period of time. So that is one most important benefit. Now, second most important benefit is whatever you have in terms of publication, go and attend the conferences. Now, right now in last 2 years, it is very easy because it's everything is virtual. We used to attend yearly most of the time, let's say I can say 2 conferences, because you have to go and travel, expenses of living expense or attending the conference. Nowadays, everything is virtual. Whatever session you like it, personally recommended, I like it. If I talk about neurology, chairman's Q&A and program director's Q&A session. So always I tell students, so make sure you prepare your presentation, submit in the conference, and then attend that thing and try to meet the people. I think Dr. Mansoori mentioned he's having wonderful case study, but he also mentioned that, you also tick mark whom you want to meet. So I used to make list of people whom I want to meet during the conference. And I make sure in first 2-3 days, I'm making sure that I'm meeting those people so I can have a follow-up at the end of the conference. So those are the strategy you need to develop when you are planning to attend conference, right? Now, another important thing when we talk about conference, you cannot randomly attend any conferences. So I recommend student, if you are applying for internal medicine, attend American Heart Association, American Medical Association, Society of General Internal Medicine. If you are going for neurology, Academy of Neurology, Neurology Association, International Stroke Conference. So every specialty is having their own conferences. Try to attend 2 or 3. So that will help you to put a strong application in your CV. You can write that in the CV in the presentation section, but also you're going to meet the faculty member whom you would like to meet in the conferences. And as Dr. Mansoori mentioned, then anything magic can happen. You have to be ready anytime, right? If you are ready. So even though when I recommend student, I tell them to prepare your barcode and business card when you're going to the conference. Why? Because sometimes you are going to give them the CV, the professor will take it to the hotel and he will forget in the hotel, or maybe take it to the home and may not take it to the office. So better is to bring the business card even, and it's very cheap nowadays, everything. You can bring if it is now it's virtual, but if it is not virtual, you can bring it any of those things which will be memorable, and then they will take it and they will look in their offices. So most important, specialty specific conference are great thing to attend. And also I always recommend all Indian students to attend AAPI, because AAPI is a one platform where it's a very legitimate criteria to judge the presentation. It's not very strict like other national conferences, but try to attend as many conferences as possible for the contact and networking purposes beside the research purposes. Next slide. So here we are having some of the data from July 2020 program directors survey, where they compare in different specialty from internal medicine to all the way to neurology, psychiatry, pediatric, that what are the mean number of publication of US IMG and non-US IMG in match category and non-match category. This slide is available right now, so you can watch anytime later on. But moral of the story of this slide is, most of the time, the people who match in internal medicine or family medicine or let's say pediatric, which are the common branches, they are having approximately 2 to 3 publication. But the people who is applying for very specific branches like psychiatry, pathology, neurology, those maybe the scoring criteria is little bit soft there, but then their publications are approximately between 4 to 10. You can see compared to 4 to 10, 6 to 10. So they are reaching up to 7 to 10. Now my question is, how to compete 10 publication? We are only having 6 months. Very easy. You can go and find out what are the 6 conferences are coming. I can say few of the name. For example, AMA, I said, AHA, I said, AAPI, I said, SGIM, I said, so many subspecialty conferences. Choose any, prepare your case presentation, prepare your small observational study, your whatever hospital you're working in India or US or anywhere, prepare your observational study, little bit use analytical skill. I'm going to tell you how you can get those analytical skill without spending much money or without spending any money. Okay, so prepare those presentation, try to submit it, asking the help of any resident you know in United States or outside United States, any professor you know outside United States or inside United States, just submit. And very many time I have noticed that publication get accepted even though the quality is little bit up and down, because it's a conference and every conference has their supplementary journal where they are going to publish those things. That means it will come to Google Scholar. That means it is considered as one of the publication. That's how you can at least beat 5 publication out of 10 just within next 6 months without focusing much on research. I always tell students not to focus much on research, focus at least 5 to 6 hours per week. Okay, that is more than sufficient if you are having suffice skill to do that. Okay, that is most important point. Next slide. Now little bit I want to emphasize. Next slide.
Sorry.
Yeah, no
One.
problem.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
This
thank
one,
you.
right? Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So I would like to emphasize a little bit about the clinical research importance in community hospital versus university residency program. Some people believe that community hospital is equal to no research requirement, or if research is there, community program will take it as a red flag, or it will take it as a non-preferable option. But according to my experience and my colleagues' experience, every community program is having academic faculties who's doing research. And if you share your research interest, if you share your skill with them, what will you bring to the program? Your skills. We'll talk about quickly some skills. So you share your skills with them, and then you can give them chance to attend national conferences with them, or you can attend national conferences with them in future being a resident. You also have residents professional development fund in community hospital as well as in the university hospital. Depend on the size and the depend of the resources, it varies between $700 to $3,000. But that means if they are having fund, that means they are not looking negatively. That means they want you to utilize that fund actually, right? On top of that, according to some ACGME criteria, you require one project or one presentation in order to graduate from residency program. And if I'm wrong, someone can correct me, but it is most of the people, most of the residents usually go in conference and attend at least one conference in that year in order to graduate. Now, when we are talking about connection thing, research is the important skill that you can bring it to the program if you are good. Now, what type of, when we talk about research, research is not a simple research. Research means it's a skill set, it's a leadership thing, it's a time sensitive or time management role. It's also some of the important thing which I'm having a team player. Dr. Mehta mentioned that research is a work of team, right? So all the skill which we are talking about, which is nothing to do with research, all this leadership, contact making, time management, those are the non-research related skills that you are going to learn from research. On top of that, if we talk about specific skill of research, then you can talk about start with the hypothesis generation, data collection, formulating the study in terms of introduction writing, then methodology, you choose the methods, analytical planning, analysis itself using software, interpretation of the research. After you interpret the research, then you write the result section, writing the discussion where you are going to sharpen your grammar as well as your interpersonal skills, where you are going to comment on all of the research project which already published. And then finally submission process. So all those things are research related skills. So all these skills you are going to bring it to the program. Okay, so this is most important thing. Now when we are talking about how research update can help you, then in our particular page we are having free research, clinical research education program. There all the lectures we put it free of cost, that you can go there, watch one by one each lecture. It will take probably 1 month or will take less than that. If you are going to take 2-3 hours of spending there, in that case it will be very helpful. Then this all the question which you are having it, how I'm going to learn the research or publication skill or citation skill, you're going to get it from there. You can just simply watch those lectures on this researchupdate.org/free clinical research education. So you are going to get all the knowledge of research, whatever you require, at least to get into residency from there. Yep, thank you so much, Kinjal.
Yes, thank you, Urvish, for that excellent presentations. And we just have few points, and we'll open the floor to more questions. So some of the opportunities that we have in AAPI, which is the American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, we are the MSRF chapter. And first, we have this excellent observership program that Dr. Pandya worked very hard towards. So Dr. Pandya, would you like to talk about the AAPI's clinical observership program?
Yes, AAPI's clinical observership program, mainly the aim is to bring international medical graduates to the US medical graduates clinical thinking, and at the level of I would say US graduates, in a way of clinical experience, their presentation, research experience. You go through 1 month of rotation with the physician, either in the private practice or in the hospital, if hospitals allow, when they have affiliation with the hospital. And at the end of the month, you will get the recommendation letter from your mentor. We try to make it universal for everyone. So the way you are going to learn either in New York or in California, it's probably the same. We try to build this program. This was just started under leadership of Dr. Sudhakar and AAPI executive members. But our plan is to uh, put it everywhere in all the states. And slowly, we are going forward in that direction. Right now, we have close to more than 30 students. They apply for the observership, and we are hoping to go more and make it very easy and accessible to all the international medical graduates. So definitely, Kinjal, thank you. And we'll work on that. All the information regarding the API observership program, it's on the API website, and you will able to get the information through the API site.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pandya. Other opportunities we have through API is you can come and present your research poster during our conferences. So we have 2 conferences every year. The next one is going to be in July in Atlanta. It will be in person from July 2nd to 4th. It's the 4th of July weekend. And we will post updates on our Facebook page. And so please follow us on our social media as well for updates regarding submission and deadlines. And please come and present your research posters there and this is a perfect opportunity for you to network with all the API physicians as well. So third, we're launching a new journal through API. It's the Journal of API, JAPI, and official launch will be in May, and it will be an official journal where once you get publicized, you can put it in your CV as well. And then obviously networking, we spoke a lot about it during the conference. And then there's a few projects in process through API. We are trying to come up with a team to hold interview practice for the next season. And there's also mentorship program, which is in development currently. The other things that you can benefit from coming to API conferences and API webinars is you can find other medical students, residents, and fellows with whom you can collaborate with for research projects or for any help going forward. So this is our website. APIUSA.org is our main API website, and APIMSRF.org is the MSRF chapter website. So with that being said, I will open the floor to any questions. And before I do that, thank you to all the speakers. The presentations were excellent. We have great feedback from the audience today. So thank you very much for all your efforts. So one of the questions that we had in the chat box is, how do you recommend to make sure application is not filtered due to low step 1 score?
You cannot do anything, it will be filtered anyway. Any program director will put a filter, and if the score is low, definitely it will be out.
Yeah, and this is where networking really helps. If somebody knows you personally, a program director or one of the attendings in the program, and they can put a good word for you, maybe that low score can get overlooked. So networking really helps in such cases.
And to add to that point, I'd like to say if you have other part of your profiles are great, you've done just a paper, you have come up with other areas, you can always email the program saying, I know my scores are low, so I might mostly be filtered, but can you have a please look at my CV? And the programs do read the emails, although they get a lot of emails, but sometimes just emailing them, if you have a really good profile, along with the contacts, can have them look at your application.
Yeah, great. Another question we have is, can I use a letter of recommendation from a rotation I did 2 years ago?
Answer is yes, you can use any letter of recommendation. It is preferred that it is recent one. If it is 2 years ago, someone who has written everything about you in a way which program director is looking, then sure, you can add because you'll be using 3 recommendation letter anyway.
But the important thing is that if you're using a 2-year-old letter of recommendation, what have you been doing in the last 2 years that you don't have a relatively fresh letter of recommendation? If you're an old graduate, recent clinical experience is very, very important. Lots of program directors take that very seriously. So I think getting those experiences in before your next application cycle would be very important.
Great. Another question we have is a score drop in step 2 considered a red flag?
It depends how much the drop is, because if you are making the filter out, so let's say if it's 225 and you have 250 and 225, then that drop is not a problem. But yes, these are the questions which you are asking shows a little bit of anxiety. And what we mentioned before, that like Jisan mentioned, that if you fail, own it. Don't try to defend by saying anything that, yes, I was sick, or my family was sick, or I had an accident. Just go exactly opposite and will accept that, yes, that made me to learn more, that in future I will always go with the preparation. You can exactly take it to your benefit, saying that when I make a mistake, I take the ownership. So when I fail, right, that made me the best lesson in my life, that in future I'll go with the proper preparation. And yes, I own it that I made a mistake. I have hundreds of reasons, but I will not give you. The only thing I'll tell you that since then, I have practiced myself enough, and I gave X exams, all of them I scored well. So that is what you are asking, that your score drops, so what, right? Give the answer accordingly, that yes, it happened. There's nothing wrong or nothing right. If I take the exam, sure, I may score lower than you at this stage. So go with the confidence.
Yes, this is very, very important. I think own it with all your heart. Do not own it just for the heck of saying it. Don't say, oh, yeah, it was my mistake. It should be that you really believe that this mistake or this whatever this happened has made you a better physician. And if you can explain that, that gives you so many brownie points. For example, the student I was talking about, just that one answer, she got the pre-match. The first interview she gave, that was the question asked. She nailed it. She got the pre-match on the very same day. So it's very, very important to own up to anything that is potentially negative, potentially red flag. So do not try to be afraid of it. It is a learning experience, and that is very, very important.
Yes.
And just to add to that, just as Ms. mentioned, the scores is something you cannot change. To own that score thing, you have to stop, let it affect you, because once you have it, it's just going to be there and they're going to ask you. So the less anxious you are, the more you can own it, and you can actually, have a confident answer to why it happened. So first, let it affecting you mentally. Because people keep stamping it's not worth to hog on to it. If you have a great score, great. If not, don't keep thinking about it.
Yeah, that's actually very important. So just few questions. One was regarding telehealth rotation. So what do you guys suggest in terms of telemedicine rotations for people who cannot travel, or even for people who have options of doing in-person rotation versus telemedicine rotation? Which one is better? Do you guys recommend it? Any thoughts on telemedicine rotations?
In person is better. If you have no other option, then sure, you can say that I have learned how to do telemedicine, because this is a major part of day-to-day life. So if it is nothing, sure, telemedicine is a better option. But if you're going to say, I know how to do telemedicine, better you know how to do it, right? It's an important piece which everybody is practicing. So I don't see there's anything negative about it. But don't say that because I did telemedicine, I have US experience.
What about in-person rotations? How to go about finding in-person clinical observerships during a pandemic?
Most institutions are concerned and they're not giving. So we just have to keep trying. Whenever it opens, you will get it. AAPI may be able to give, because they will not be having all of them in kind of hospital. So keep looking at the AAPI, and some of the organization may open in the June or in September. That's a possibility.
Okay, thank you. We have Dr. Anupama Gottimukula here. She would like to speak to us about more opportunities in AAPI. Dr. Anupama, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm Dr. Anupama. I'm a president-elect of AAPI. So we'll be starting the term on July 4th. So, and thank you so much. This is a excellent attendance. I see 272 people, and thanks to Dr. Himanshu Pandya and Kinjal and everyone who organized this meeting today. So I just want to give a brief overview about what next year we are going to plan for this committee, academics and research committee. And we have two components now. So academics and research, we are going to separate those two wings. And see the observership program, everything will go under the academic wing. And Dr. Himanshu Pandya is the chair. And he will be whatever platform we created last year, we're going to go more vibrant on it, and the response is very, very good. And a lot of students are looking forward to join residency, and I think this platform will help them to educate themselves, learn, get some experience, and get into residency programs. So that's about the observership program, and we look forward from the academic program directors who can help these students give their rotations in their hospitals. That would be an awesome help for the young doctors. And the second thing I want to tell you all about is the research part of it in AAPI. So AAPI, in the past, I don't think we have ever done this before. So we have we made a committee for what we should do this year, and we have a 4-member committee. We had an initial meeting, and then this is all we planned. So we have a lot of requests from undergrad students, pre-med students, and they want a research experience so they can get into medical schools. So we have a few physicians who have the research departments. They run the departments, and they're very much willing to accommodate our request. So one from Dayton, Ohio, and one from Atlanta. So far, so we have 2 physicians who are willing to have the pre-med students to join on a research project. It can be 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months based on the project. And we are forming a template. We have not made the template yet, but we have another 2 months. So we are in the process of making the template, and after we get the template, probably we'll notify the membership, and then we can get started. But we are going to encourage more and more of research opportunities for the pre-med students. So for medical students who are already in medical schools in United States, you all have mentorship, and you all have directions what to do, and you all take 1 year break like my daughter did. She took a year break to do research only in gastroenterology, hepatitis, GI department. So you have a direction here in United States. So your mentors guide you. You want to do research in what is your interest. So it's a one-on-one guidance you get in United States. But from India, I don't think we can accommodate them for the research in United States because of the limitations, and we do not have much information about that. So I cannot talk anything about that part of it. If a student from India, can they come here and join a research project? So we will find out, and we want to help as much as possible, but we're going to find out about that. We don't have those details yet. And I wish everyone very best, and keep doing what you're doing. And the motivation, you want to do something, and that's how you all achieve. You have to have a goal. What do you want to do? And then that's how you work towards it. And yes, we are all here to help you in any way we can in our own limitations. So any questions we will take, or I'll pass on to Dr. Himanshu Pandya. You can elaborate a little bit more about what we discussed among ourselves. Dr. Rupesh Raina, Dr. Raj Algapan, Dr. Himanshu Pandya, and myself, we 4 of us met, and we discussed a few things. And Dr. Pandya, you can give us a little bit more information what we discussed on.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Gotimukla. And just in short, since I know there are a lot of questions we have, but we are working definitely in right direction. We are getting more and more opportunity to collaborate research projects with some of the mentors. But again, this is still under pipeline. So once we have more information, we'll get back to you. But definitely, AAPI is working sincerely to develop the research projects and help the international medical graduates for the research projects. We'll give you updates soon, and definitely, hopefully, with the next webinar, we'll have more information. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the speakers and to everybody who worked hard towards putting this webinar, and also for all the people who attended to make it successful. We will have a recording of this available on our websites. I will post both the websites in the chat box, the apiusa.org and apimsrf.org. So please keep connected with us, and we will have future webinars like this in future. So thank you very much. And yes, Dr. Pandya.
Kinjal, I want to share one information, and it's a very critical, because I have been talking to the program directors and also the residents who are taking them for the tour of the hospital. So the program directors told me one thing they do not like, that when you go to the hospital or anywhere for the interview and the information is there on the website, or if the students are giving, do not ask the question to the program director, that because then he would think that you are not well prepared, that all the information is there on website and you are asking same question. So please, as everybody said, Dr. Jishan said, that please look at that. Dr. Mehta said, please do homework before you go to any program for interview, because you have 5 minutes. You do not want to bring anything that can create problem for program director to decide that you are a good candidate. Thank you.
Any other words of wisdom before we?
I'd like to add just one point. One of the things I found extremely helpful are there is a bunch of websites right now that post about vacant opportunities, because with the COVID, a lot of things change, new programs get funded, new positions open up. So always look out for, like, there are a couple of websites, Resident Swap, Unmatched MD, all of them regularly post on vacant opportunities, and reaching out to them has gained people, access. It's not like everyone, but it does work. So looking out for those opportunities while you're preparing for the next match also is important.
Yeah, one last thing about MPH. I think lots of people are asking about MPH, and we didn't touch upon that in detail. So one thing is that just having an MPH degree itself will not magically make you a better candidate for residency, but how you use the MPH, how you build the connections, whether the MPH program is affiliated with the residency program or not, how you get research out of it, how you get publications, how you learn SPSS, SAS, all those things will actually make your profile better. Just an MPH magically doesn't do anything. So that is very important to understand. That is one last thing I wanted to say. Thank you.
Just to add to everything what has been said, make it a point that everything what you do is an experience, a positive experience. So when someone asks you about your research, when someone asks you that what you did in MPH, don't start describing that I did 20 patients of pulmonary hypertension whose pressure was this, and we give this medication and this were the outcomes. Tell about what you learned as an experience, that you had wonderful experience seeing these patients, right, who were not able to breathe, knowing their families, how they come to you. At the same time, you met the beautiful or the very learned mentors, professors. So describe your every experience in a way that you are fortunate to work with so and so. So when somebody say, what did you do in the observership of AAPI? Just don't say that I was seeing 10 patients and I was doing HNP. Make a note and a habit of every single day going and having those experiences that I met patients and I learned how they live. That is more important than just describing your 1, 2, 3, 4 task list. So that will be very helpful in the interviews, as well as writing your personal statement or anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very important advice.
Last thing I would say, that if I have to take the resident interview, I would take it as an Olympics. The Olympics, the candidate prepares themselves for probably 5 years, 10 years, and what they have to perform is probably 30 seconds or 1 minute. So exactly same thing. Whatever you are doing for years and years, you can't tell them that I spent 160 hours in the library, I should get the internal medicine residency. No, they are not interested in knowing that what you have done. All they want to see in that 5 minutes how you are doing. So all your concentration should be in 5 minutes. It's a Olympics. So whatever you do, that counts. Doesn't matter how much practice you do that. So make sure you do everything, but you need to represent yourself uh, excellent, and then program director will consider that.
Yeah, and this is a very important point that if all of our speakers have highlighted throughout the session, that in preparing for interview is equally or probably even more important than preparing for all your steps, because this is the, this is a make or break. There's 5,000, 8,000 applicants. They are interviewing 500 applicants, and they have 15, 20 seats. Let's say if we, say it's internal medicine. So why would they choose you? So you have to prepare. You have to be so prepared that if they throw a curveball, if they throw a stressful situation at you, you should be able to answer the question with confidence, and with, in a way that you're sharing your experience. So that's very crucial in success for matching. So even, they say all it takes is one interview, right? So a lot of people have just matched with 1 or 2 interviews, and it's because they have performed their best in that 1 or 2 interviews. So it doesn't take you 6 or 10 interviews. Sometimes applicants have 10 interviews and they don't end up matching because they didn't prepare, or they took it lightly. They took the interview process lightly. So it's very important for you to tackle every interview as this is your one and only chance of matching, and prepare for it.
One real scenario I would like to share. One of the person I know that he rotated with me. He came during his high school time just to get some experience to my office. When he went for his school, medical school, and I wrote the recommendation letter. So luckily the person who was interviewing, he knew me very well. Now, uh, once everything is done, and then we met the person who interviewed. We just met casually, and then he said that, oh, you know that I met so and so, and but he said that he is interested somewhere in Texas, and I said that no, he as far as I know, that's what he was talking, and this is what conversation I had. Bottom line is, even if you know you are going to match at one place and you are going for second interview, do not tell them that the other place is better, because that definitely is going to break you. And you know that that person uh, match at the facility where my friend was there. He gave the highest ranking, he matched it. Now he is doing ENT residency. But you can imagine, he did not match in Texas. So this is real life scenario. So if you have place that you know that you are going to match it at one place and you are going for second interview, just show them interest that this is the only program that you are looking for.
Exactly. Yeah, treat every interview like it's that's the place you're going to match. So
Yes.
all right, thank you everybody. With that being said, we will adjourn our webinar today. So keep in touch for more such webinars, and we will have a committee for interview practice when the season comes as well. So thank you everyone for joining us as well.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kinjal. Bye.